Howdy, welcome to Viking Preparedness. I'm Pastor Joe Fox, and this is our garden. This is my wife Kate. Call her Sister Kate, and she's also known as Mo, and she's going to kind of walk us through what we've got going on here.
Good evening, folks. I'm here to show you our garden, and we're going to start on this end. We are trying to do sort of a conceptual garden this year. We've had this plot in straight rows before and also in some raised beds, but neither one seemed to work that well, so we've done some intensive planting. On this side we have an onion bed that's been ravaged by chickens going through the mulch, but there are onions in there and we will harvest them. And as you see, we've also allowed sunflowers to grow on all around the garden. These came from seed that was used as feed for our chickens, and they grew up and dropped seeds and grew up and dropped seeds. So we're continuing to let them grow, and we're going to use the plants for fodder for our horse, our goats, and we're going to use the sunflower heads when they're there to feed the birds and the goats and the horse. And then on this side of the path we have two potted tomatoes that were gifts from people in our church. These are Bloody Butcher heirloom variety, and we're going to try keeping them in the pots. We've never done container gardening before, and so this is our first year trying that. And right next to them you'll see Swiss chard, and it's doing pretty well in this kind of mulched intensive planting. And then right next to it we have romaine lettuce, which is doing okay, and we have some beets that are down here kind of tucked in between, and they're doing fine. You'll also notice we have some lamb's quarter, which is a weed that grows around the area naturally. They have a kind of a sword shaped leaf and a silver powder in the middle of the top. This is edible raw or in cooked greens. It's very good for you. There's a plant that looks like it that doesn't have the silver, so you're going to want to look for that silver powder. Then we used maple sticks that we were given by a manufacturing plant in town, and rabbit pen wiring that was given to us by a neighbor to construct frameworks for the peas, which are just about done. And as we move around the circle, we've tried to mulch the walkways. We're also using carpet to keep the weeds down, and we need to mulch more, but it always helps no matter how little or how much you do to pull weeds. It's just a lot easier if you've mulched beforehand. Then again, you can see more sunflower seeds, more lamb's quarter, more peas, and then in between we have potatoes planted. The plant is actually right in here, and there's potatoes coming up through the soil. So the potatoes have done just fine in the intensive gardening. On this side, underneath some of the sunflowers that have come up, are carrots that my husband planted earlier. And they are coming up, and I weed in between to give them a little chance to get some water and some nutrition. And then there's another row of lettuce, and then another row of lettuce in there. As we walk a little bit farther along, we're using bark mulch as we get it, and it is available from the county at the recycle center. If you go in, they'll load your truck up, and for $10 you get a whole big load of mulch. Then right in front of you is another intensively planted plot. We have potatoes in there. We have some broccoli and some cabbage plants with a row of onions next to it, and some of the naturally growing weeds again here. If you look back behind, no, right in front, we have another weed that we're allowing to grow. This is curly dock, or burdock as some people know it. There's a mature plant over here that's putting out seed heads already. These seed heads can be made into flour, so that is edible too. And the leaf of the burdock is a long, straight, skinny leaf. It has a curly edge on it, and in order to eat it, I tend to just strip the green parts off of the spine. The goats love to eat this also. Then, as we walk to this end, you have another bed with peas and a row of beets right here that we've used rabbit manure on that are doing very well. They're actually very close to being able to harvest. and more peas that are just about done, more lamb's quarter, more potatoes, and at the end of this row is mustard greens. These are mustard greens that we planted about 4 or 5 years ago. They are the kind that come back twice a year. They come up in spring and in fall, and we're allowing them to grow the seed pod so that we can try making our own mustard this year. Then as we move out this way, we have in front of us a bed that has cucumber plants. There's one green bean that got stuck in there, and there's also some dill that again grows every year and has started over here in my herb garden, but this one, the seeds were thrown this far, and so we're allowing it to grow up. It's good for the garden. It's friendly to other plants, and it's a legume, so it's just a good all-around plant. Then if you turn this way, we have a few more beds that run parallel. We have onions here, and we put a few tomatoes and peppers in. We have a bed of tomatoes here, and then just beyond another bed, these are all Rutgers variety tomatoes. And these Rutgers tomatoes are the kind that will all come ripe at the same time. They're really good for making canned tomatoes, and these were on sale 75 cents at the local store, or 75% off at the local store, so they only cost about 6 cents a piece. So they were a real bargain. And I've used rabbit manure in here in order to kind of boost up the soil, because our soil tends to be very clay-like. All right, if we walk down this way towards my herb garden, we have herbs that grow every year. They keep coming back. We also have a strawberry plant and a tire right up front. It's our first year at trying strawberries, and so we're hoping it will multiply, and we'll put more tires in there and more plants as it grows. Then in this bed, the 3 larger plants are plants that are coming up every year. This is mint, this is dill, and then on the other side there's oregano, lots and lots of oregano. And I just continue to let them grow up and fight each other, and at the end of the season I take them out and I dry them, so I have plenty of these herbs to use. I also use the dill when I'm making pickles. Then at this end of the bed, I've planted a few other spices. I have 2 chives. This one is a chive and this is a chive, and in between they've thrown out a lot of little baby plants. There's a sage there. There's a parsley right in the middle that I'm hoping will survive the summer. It's pretty small right now. And then there's some lavender right here. Then as we move around the garden, we have a broccoli type plant that grew from last year. It wintered over, and we're letting it go to seed, and then we'll collect the seeds and replant. And in the horseshoe shaped bed, we have green beans that we just planted recently and have just come up. And next to them, some summer squash, some more mustard, some more lamb's quarter, and then butternut squash. And next to them we have walking onions. This is the first year I've had these. They were given to me by a friend. I'm hoping what happens with them is they fall down and they grow more onions, and you don't have to plant them yourself each year. They just kind of plant themselves and start new onion plants. If you come this way with me, this is a bed that we're still working on. We planted broccoli and type plants and some collard greens, but they didn't grow very well, and there's a rabbit that comes up and chews on these at night. So I've gotten some marigold plants. They're supposed to keep rabbits away, and I need to get them in the ground up front. Excuse me. And then as we come around this edge of the garden, it's another onion patch with the sunflowers that we've allowed to grow there. Like I said before, we're going to use those sunflowers for feed for our critters. Then there was a couple of pea plants, and then potatoes in a tire. This was one of those years that we were trying something new. We've not done this before. And so there's a potato plant, and we've gone 3 tires high, and then put some mulch on top and a little bit of manure. And so we're hoping that the potatoes grow and fill the tires. And then there's more potato plants around it. And then our final little area is where I planted cabbage. It looks like maybe the rabbits have come up here a bit. We've also used the rabbit manure on the cabbages to just feed them, because again, like I said, our soil can be clay-like and a little rough. Excuse me. And there's more lamb's quarter growing next to them, and another sunflower. And that brings us back to the center, and we are finished with our garden. And thank you for watching.